Today we will be discussing on this topic, employee attitudes and engagement. And this is not merely about what is attitude and what is engagement and all. And we all know this is a part of the course HR analytics, which we have been discussing about in this semester. Fine. So in HR analytics, we have been taking up various aspects related to HR and how to measure the financial outcomes of those aspects. For example, earlier we had discussed about absenteeism, how to estimate the cost of absenteeism, what are the factors we overlook, and how to incorporate all those factors, and how to make certain qualitative factors in absenteeism quantifiable so that the exact financial cost of absenteeism can be computed. So in the similar fashion, we also discussed on topics like turnover and employee separation, what are the financial implications and what are the costs involved. And similarly, we also discussed about the cost and benefits of wellness programs offered by the companies, the various employee assistance programs offered, and employees' well-being. Okay, so in that perspective, today we are going to take up this attitudes and engagement of employees and how these are going to result in financial outcomes to the organization. And as a HR analyst, we know like we will have to scale up and we need to have um, exposure in disciplines like economics, statistics, and finance so that we measure these qualitative aspects in cost and benefit terms. Okay, fine. So, like as I have started in this course, as I have stated you, this the reference book we are following is by Jan Casio and John Bourdieu. Okay, so all this contents of this presentation is adapted from that particular book actually. So for further information and examples and deep insights and hands-on exercises, kindly refer to this book. Much helpful. Okay, so I'll be giving a brief presentation, okay, based on the contents of this book. So in the first part of our discussion, we will try to understand what is this all about, so that we will be in a better position to how to transform this into financial outcomes and express this in terms of cost and benefits to the organization. Fine. So you would have studied in courses like human resource management and organizational behavior. Much discussions would have been there in those courses on these topics like attitudes, commitment, and engagement. Okay, right. So here we would just have a slight recap of it. So we are not going to spend more time on this part in understanding. We'll be spending time on understanding how to analyze employee attitudes, commitment, and engagement, and how to analyze the correlation between attitudes, commitment, and engagement to the financial and organizational performance of the organizations, and how organizations can get benefited out of attitudes and engagement. So that is be our focus area, but yet we will just have a slight recap on this topics which we had already having an understanding about. Okay, as you know, attitudes can be towards anything, like it is the kind of what you call the mindset of persons, and it can be towards anything. As I told you earlier, it can be towards people, it can be towards certain objects, it can be towards an organization, it can be towards a living being or a non-living being. Okay, and attitudes can be also towards some beliefs, value systems, and all those things. Fine. And we all know attitudes are formed based on certain factors. But here, since this is the course on HR analytics, we are going to focus more on job related attitudes than personal attitudes. Okay. And as we all know, like when you express attitude in terms of the jobs, I mean the attitudes people hold towards the job, you can come out with three factors, which is satisfaction, commitment, and engagement. Okay. I would say satisfaction is more of an outcome of the level of commitment and engagement expressed in a job. So now let us understand what attitude is, and then later we will move on to the explanations about commitment and engagement, and what is this all about, and how it has gotten correlation to the job satisfaction of employees. Okay, fine. To understand attitude, there are three parts of attitude. Okay, see, to develop an attitude towards something, first you will have to have an understanding of certain things based on the information you have. So first, based on the information you have, you would try to develop an attitude. So that information and knowledge part you have or gain towards a particular person, object, as I told you earlier, it may be towards anything like. So that information you have and the knowledge you have is the cognitive part of attitude. And based on that knowledge and information you have got, you will try to tend to develop an emotion. It may be either a positive emotion or a negative emotion. If you develop a positive emotion, then you would be having a positive attitude towards that. If you develop a negative emotion, then it is going to be a negative attitude. And these emotions you develop based on the knowledge you have gained will be expressed in terms of your behavior towards that particular person, object, or whatever it is. Say for a simple example, you perceive and you gain information as a new entrant from your colleagues. You gain information about your supervisor that he is nosy in your work, and he's like he's not a supervisor who is interested in developing his subordinates. So based on all this information you get, you tend to develop an emotion towards that particular person, and based on that you would express a behavior when that particular person approaches or in your interactions with those particular person. This is a simple example for us to understand how this attitudes are developed in this hierarchy. Okay, so it is basically the information or knowledge you have, and based on that you develop an emotion, and based on that you try to express those in terms of behavior. Okay, right. So similarly, when attitudes are developed, and when positive attitudes are developed, that tend to be an highest level of job satisfaction, highest level of job commitment, and the highest level of job engagement. But when the attitudes are negative, then that will result in reduced job satisfaction, which I told you is a result of reduced commitment and engagement. Okay, so having understood this thing about attitude, we will now move on to much more try to understand in much uh, elaborate way about this attitude. Number one, attitude is multidimensional. You all know it is not based on a particular incident or a particular event. Okay, right. So similarly, when we take job satisfaction, see, I have listed certain factors in this presentation. See, attitude, job satisfaction is not an resultant of only one factor. It involves the level of job security you have, the benefits you receive from taking up that job or being in that job, the compensation and pay, not the actual thing paid, actually your attitude about how fair is that compensation and the pay is given for you for the work you do, and the scope of uh, avenues available to use your skills and abilities, and your feeling of an what you call a safer work environment. These are all the factors which will be contributing things, or the factors which will influence the level of attitude. So that is why we call attitude as multidimensional, because any of these factors or all of these factors or a combination of certain factors would be determining job satisfaction. or the attitude expressed in terms of job. We call it as job satisfaction, and that is how. So with this understanding, we will proceed further. See, this is like I have given this infographics or collected from the websites of various sites which are available in Google, and I don't own any copyrights to this, and you can very well go to that particular websites which are mentioned here, and you can have much more detailed insights about the information which I have provided. Okay, so you look at here what matters to the employees, like when it comes to uh, financial well-being. See, this is where attitude plays a role. See, your organization will think of like financial wellness is like I pay a benchmark industry package, or I pay right in time every month, salaries right in time. Okay, so that will be leading to satisfaction of employees, but the actual results show something else. So this is where organizations struggle to understand the attitudes of employees, because attitudes, as psychologists say, it starts developing from very earlier days of your childhood, and of course you can change attitudes. That is the good news for you, and good news for the employers. Though employees come to the organization with negative attitudes, with certain organization interventions, you can change the attitudes of employees. Okay, fine. So with this, we will move further. Okay, and we will try to understand these terms and the differences between these terms. And as I told you, job satisfaction is an outcome of the level of engagement and organizational commitment that a person has towards the job on the organization. See, employee engagement is more to do with the job, and organizational commitment is the attachment towards the organization. These two put together will lead to whether you are satisfied with the job or not satisfied with the job. Okay, right. So job satisfaction is how well you are simply, it is how well you are satisfied with the job, and how well you tend to continue to do that work, how well that work is paying you well. So as I told you, this is a multi-dimensional thing. So there are a lot of factors involved. So on all these factors, if your job scores high, or you score high on that particular factors, then you tend to have a job satisfaction, higher level of job satisfaction. And this is a resultant of the job itself. Okay, and that is what will lead to this employee engagement. See, the job itself should be providing certain challenges to the employees. The job should keep the employees engaged. I'll show you an infographic in the next slide, where you can understand the impact of employee engagement. Okay, so that is why the job itself should be a motivating factor for the employee, so that it results in satisfaction. Okay, so that is all about this employee engagement, which has to do with the job, how challenging the job is designed to meet the what you call a sense of emotional satisfaction of the employees. Okay, see, when I complete that job, I should feel a sense of pride in completing the job. I should okay, and the job should be feed me. The job should feed me. I'm not meaning that what you call the food actually. The job should feed something for me to crunch, work out, and I should feel a sense of achievement when I complete the particular job. So that is all about this employee engagement. And when it comes to organizational commitment, it is how far the employee is attached to the organization. Okay, and this organizational commitment will be expressed in three forms, which we'll be discussing in a later part. So right now, these are the three components, a major component. Then comes a commitment towards the job actually, and this commitment is nothing but the extra efforts and the dedication, you call it as, okay, you have towards your job, which is determined by your vigor. Vigor is nothing but the level of energy you express in doing that job, and the level of dedication, the extra efforts you're putting forth in completion of the job, and absorption, how far you are immersed in that job. Okay, You would have seen certain employees working without noting the time, skipping lunch hours, and they don't know. And somebody should remind when they are immersed in job. That is what we call it as absorption. So when these three factors are present, then there will be job commitment, and there is a slight difference between this commitment towards the job and the organizational commitment. Organizational commitment is kind of emotional attachment I have towards the organization itself. It is not about the job. See, when I have higher levels of organizational commitment, whether I am committed to the job or not, because I have an attachment towards the organization, I tend to stay with the job. So this is how these two are different. But you all put together forms the wholesome attitudes and the level of engagement. Now I will be taking you through two certain infographics with regard to the importance of attitudes, the employee engagement and organizational commitment. Then we would be looking into how to measure this financial outcomes of this and how to manage this. Okay, fine. As I told you, just have a look at this. This is a study by eKimCare. You can visit their website for further details. Okay, an elaborate blog has been written and a detailed article is given on this study. Okay, happy employees, okay, are 30% productive, creative. They bring in higher sales. They are more loyal. There are lesser quality defects. So I told you this is where it comes. Okay, this is how this soft skill, you so far label this attitude as soft skills. Okay, of course it is a soft skill, but it is quantifiable and it can be expressed in terms of financial outcomes for an organization. Okay, see, happy employees bring in an increase of 19.2 percentage operating income, and they are higher earning in share for the companies. Okay, so they contribute more than the employees who are unhappy. You know, happiness is a sense of, I mean, it's a kind of attitude actually. Okay, it's a kind of mindset. Okay, fine. Now let us have a look at it. Like, why do you want to measure attitudes? Okay, because whenever a change is brought into the organization, and changes are inevitable, you will be following a strategy. When that strategy is no more applicable or it is outdated, you would come out with a new strategy. Okay, right. So what about this? It's a regular business happening, changing strategies and emerging into the new markets and exploring new opportunities to expand the businesses and all those things. Changes happen. But the point to note here is, what are the attitudes that people have because of the changes you bring in? If the changes are well taken, if they take it with a positive mindset and they have a positive attitude towards the changes you bring in, then the changes you bring in are going to reap results because they are ready to change, they are adapt to change, and they have a positive attitude towards the change. What if you think is an good strategy or a move, but it is not accepted by your employees and they develop a negative attitude? So you all know, the though you may have good strategies, of course the implementation is to be done by the efforts of the people. If they don't cooperate or they don't execute your strategies which you form at a broader business level, then that chances for your business level strategies success is going to be lower because people have a negative attitude and they are not able to execute or they are not ready to execute. Okay, so this is an example. When you think of introduction of AI in the workplace, good to hear. Okay, so more than 50% of the employees think that it will not reduce the workforce, but this thinking does matter a lot to the employers, because if the employees think introduction of AI is going to grab their jobs, then people will be aware of it, and your implementation, as I told you earlier, you would be having certain issues. So this is where attitude comes a role into play. You may think that who cares about employee attitudes? I'm paying him, he's doing work. But things don't work in that way in organizations, and you will have to manage the attitudes of employees towards whatever change you are bringing in. And that is why we are having depth insight about these attitudes. Okay, then we take engagement. Just have a look at it. I told you engagement is how well the job could uh, mentally and physically engage the employees in doing it. So that is why now HR managers and the people are talking about redesigning of jobs to make it more engaging to the employees, because to avoid monotony, boredom, or disengagement. Because disengaged employees will create a lot of distractions. And when in a team, if you have certain disengaged employees, these disengaged employees will also affect the performers in the team who are actually wanting to be engaged in the job. Okay, so it's a kind of group behavior. One person's behavior when in a team will affect the other person's behavior also. And just look at it checking mobile phones, spending more time of social media during the work hours, uh, all those things happens because of what? They don't find their job interesting. They don't immerse and engage themselves in the job. So they frequently check mobile phones, frequently check for if some updates have come, if there is anyone available to talk, so that they can keep themselves engaged, the social kind of emotion connections and all those things, so they tend to see. But when the job is engaging, challenging, and uh, it should act like a magnet that keeps the employee stick to the job and doing and completion and all those things, then the employees are engaged. And you would have seen you doesn't mind about how many notifications you have got or how many calls you have got, because you are actively engaged in the job. That is how this engagement makes sense. Okay, so higher level of engagement means more you are reaping out of your employees, and better the productivity of employees. Okay, so and this is something else. An engaged employee communicates, he shares ideas, he works smarter, and he exceeds customer expectations because he is engaged, and he looks for ways to improve performance and processes. And these are the outcomes of an engaged employee, behavioral outcomes of an engaged employee. And here, look at another infograph about what are the makers of employee engagement and what are the outcomes of the employee engagement. There is said to be an emotional affinity. I told you an emotional attachment towards the organization as well as the job. Then, uh, personal well-being. You should take care of the employees. That is what we discussed in the earlier chapter. How many dollars that each of the companies, how many rupees that each of the companies in India and the other Western countries are paying on taking care of the physical well-being and mental well-being of the employees. Because this personal well-being, if I have a sense of what you call, if somebody takes care, I love them. Okay, so similarly, if the organization takes care of my well-being, then I have an commitment towards the organization, which we termed as the organizational commitment. And social connections are very much required to keep the employees engaged. That is what by social connections, I don't mean like how many followers you have got in Facebook and Twitter, and how many are following on Instagram. This social connections is the kind of what you call the kind of work relationship you have with your co-workers and with the team. Okay, there should be somebody to mentor you, guide you. If you find certain employees, then you are great at your job. Then a supportive culture in the organization. So these will result to employer loyalty. That is what we call it as organizational commitment. Okay, you could develop to you tend to develop a sense of loyalty towards your organization, and that will also increase the level of your job performance. So this is about the importance of engagement. Okay, and that is why we discussed this personal well-being is an important determinant factor in employee engagement, and that is why most of the companies spend a lot in taking care of the physical and mental well-being of the employees. And we have discussed in the earlier discussions we had, like what about this what is workplace wellness, and what is workplace healthcare programs and what is employee assistance programs. We discussed about WHPs and EAPs, and who is meant to take WHPs and who is meant to take EAPs, what is the purpose and how much dollars and how much investment that every year companies spend into this programs so as to take care of the physical and mental well-being of the employees. Okay, because it leads to engagement. Okay, fine. This is yet another thing. Okay, it is obvious that companies which take care of their employees, the employees tend to develop a kind of employer loyalty and employee engagement. Okay, and finally, commitment. When it comes to commitment, it matters. It will be expressed in terms of the level of performance. Higher the commitment you show towards the job, higher will be your output and the level of performance you show up in your job. Okay, so there is a statistics about this. Okay, companies with engaged employees outperform up to 202 percentage better. Just you imagine, rather if I have an engaged workforce, then competition is out of my view. I need not worry about competitions or what kind of similar products coming in and all those things, because I have engaged employees who can take me to greater heights. Okay, so these are some of the infographics I would like to show, just to give you an idea about how these are more important to be managed. Now, having understood what are the how these are all the things are very important. Now we will just have a smaller discussion about what will be the outcomes of this engagement, commitment, and satisfaction. Okay, higher the satisfaction and commitment and engagement, just you can look at the table which I have produced. I have adapted from that book, and I have reproduced from that book. Okay, fine. It is simple. Like greater engagements leads to job challenge and learning. It results in a climate of respect. It gives the sense of autonomy to the worker. It gives a sense of work-life fit. It gives a sense of economic security. Then the supervisor task support is there. So these are all the resultants of job outcomes of greater engagement. And similarly, with the greater job satisfaction, you feel a sense of economic security, work-life fit, climate of respect, autonomy. Okay, and these are all the outcomes. Look at all these terms. It's all good to hear: climate of respect, autonomy, work-life fit, economic security. If you are able to provide these, then what else you require with to have an engaged workforce? And we have discussed earlier, with an engaged workforce, you can do much better than your competitors. I mean, 200% more outputs you can bring when compared to your